All right, so I just wanted to get started with the demo. So my name is Yujin Hong. I'm a program manager on the Azure Government Engineering team at Microsoft. And I am here to introduce you guys to Azure Security Center, which is Azure's first-party solution to make sure users can secure their resources. So one of the most important aspects of cloud computing and having your data and resources in the cloud is making sure they're secure.
I'll interrupt you just for a second.
Oh, okay.
Everybody in the back, we're just starting the demo, so if you don't mind taking your seats, thank you.
Thank you. So Security Center actually analyzes the security of all of your Azure resources, and it helps you identify potential vulnerabilities. And one really cool aspect of Azure Security Center that I wanted to explain was that it actually supports hybrid environments. So if you have some workloads running on-prem, or if you have workloads running on like other cloud providers, you can actually monitor them all from Azure Security Center. So I wanted to start with resource security. So this is actually the Azure Government Portal, and this is the Security Center blade. So this is what you'll see if you log into the portal. So let's click on this resource security hygiene solution. So here we can see there's like the secure score. So this score is actually calculated based on all of the data that the Azure Security Center is pulling from your resources. And based on that data, they're giving you a list of recommendations you can take to make your resources more secure. So technically, if you go through all these recommendations and you actually act on them, this score should increase. So if we look at some of these recommendations, we can see enable multi-factor authentication for accounts. So you don't want someone to like hack into your account with owner permission, and they can mess around with all of your Azure resources. Adding a web application firewall. And here we can see install endpoint protection solution on virtual machines. And another thing that I want to note is that these are all sorted by the secure score impact. So the great thing about Security Center, it has all these great machine learning algorithms backing it. And these machine learning algorithms are actually able to sort based on how critical or how high priority these recommendations are. So let's just click on this install endpoint protection. So endpoint protection is a feature that Azure provides that actually is basically scanning your VM logs and detecting malware activity, and it actually gives you the actions that malware was that was taking as well. So here we can see that we have 34 machines. We have 2 out of 12 VMs that do not have endpoint protection installed on them. So let's click on that. And we can see these are the virtual machines that do not have the solution. So if we click up on here, install on 2 VMs, this is the solution. It's called Microsoft Anti-Malware. This is a solution that we can install, but Microsoft Azure Security Center actually also detects other third-party products. So if you want to have like a third-party product integrated in here, that's fine as well. So if we click on this, click Create. And here's just some default settings. And then if you hit OK, pretty much it's just installing that solution on whatever VMs you've chosen. So it's that easy. It's alerted you, hey, you should do these list of recommendations. You've clicked on one of them. And then it actually provides you a way to immediately act upon that action. So let me actually go back to my Security Center blade. So now I've looked at the state of my resources, and let's say I want to lock down some of my VMs, because VMs are a very important part of your workload on the cloud. So the just-in-time VM access basically allows you to lock down inbound traffic coming to your VM and set up basically network security group rules to say this IP can access this VM from this port. So here we can see there's 2 VMs that we already have configured for just-in-time access. So if we actually navigate to this tab, we already have this VM open. I'm just going to try and actually connect to it. Connect. So I was trying to connect to it. So this protects your VMs in scenarios where someone's trying to brute force the management port on your VM, and they're trying to hack into it. having this set up on your VM would protect it from those kinds of scenarios. So, oh, we can't connect to the remote computer, and that's because this VM was configured for JIT access, and I have not requested access to this VM. So now let's actually try and request access. So you can see that button has popped up. I've chosen that VM. I've clicked request access, and here you can see, as I said before, you can decide which ports you want to open. You can specify an IP range, but in this case, I just want to choose my IP. And you can also choose a time range of hours, of how many hours you want this rule to be in effect. So let's just say I choose 1. I click open ports. It's validating, so that JIT network access request has initiated. So if I go back to my virtual machine, and click connect. So it might take like a minute or two for that access request to take effect, but let's try connecting again. Yeah, sometimes it takes like a minute, sometimes it takes like a few seconds. So I'm not sure if this is gonna, technically this is, what we want to happen is that this allows me to now log into my VM because I've given my IP address access to it just now. Oh. So that has happened. So let me come back to it in like a minute or two, and hopefully that access request has actually taken place. So the way that JIT access actually works is it affects the network security group that you've defined for however many VMs you want. So you can define these like rules, inbound and outbound port rules that apply to that network security group. So now I want to look at system updates. So if you have like hundreds of VMs that are running, managing updates for them might become a little tricky. So there's this update solution that we provide that allows you to kind of monitor that. So you can see here we have 34 Windows computers, we have 2 Linux computers, and you can actually see listed what VM needs what kind of updates. So if we click on this first one, we should be able to see what kind of updates we need to have. So here we have like a 2018 update for Windows Server. We have a security update for SQL Server, which was flagged before. So I'm going to actually navigate to that virtual machine. So this is the same virtual machine we just saw. And then we can see the same updates that we saw from the Security Center blade. And now I want to actually update my VM. It's told me all these updates I need. So let's schedule an update deployment. So here it allows you to actually specify out of those updates it wanted me to do, like which one I want to deploy, or I can do all of them. And I can actually schedule when that happens. And then I just click OK and create, and that all those updates will just be deployed to my VM. Yes.
How do you control these updates? I mean, what is the master link that tells you these updates are really needed for my organization?
So you don't need to. So basically, these updates are compiled by I think Windows Defender and a bunch of other products that are monitoring your VMs and seeing. They're basically tracking which updates have been released and which ones your VMs don't have. So I don't think there's any requirement for you to actually enforce these updates.
Within the board, I want to know that, hey, I really want these updates to be installed in my VMs, but these I want to ignore. I want to have a great integration period.
Right.
How do I control those policies?
Right. So from my knowledge, I'm not 100% sure about updates, but Security Center allows you to set up your own rules and metrics and alerts. So I think updates might be one of those where you can configure what things your Security Center should be looking for your machines, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know that Security Center has configurable aspects where users can define their own rules and policies. Yeah. So hopefully that's one of those. So that's how you schedule and update for your virtual machines. So I'm going to change over to this tab, and it's change tracking. So it's basically tracking changes across your Windows and Linux software, your registry keys, your files, and basically identifying these changes might help you pinpoint some operational or security issues. And these changes are actually sent to a log analytics service, which basically it is displaying all this data right over here. So we can see the changes by configuration type. We can see software changes and the computer that they've happened to and the application changes. So let's just click on this first VM and see which configuration changes have taken place. So we can, if we just expand this right here, we can see the configuration change type, software, it was removed, and we can actually see like previous and current, we can see what the exact change was. Yeah.
What's the parity and coverage for Windows and Linux VMs? Is there any difference?
No, there's no difference because, yeah, there's no difference because as you can see, if I go back here, when we saw before, you saw like the Windows computers and the Linux computers, like they treat the VMs the same way. So there's no difference. Yeah, same with like network security and like those kind of rules as well, because you can define which VMs have which rules. So it doesn't matter what type they are. Yeah. Okay, so we've seen these dashboards and we've clicked on, we've seen the type of change that's happened, when it's happened, what kind of like software or application it's happened to. So yeah, that's another cool aspect of Security Center. So now I want to click on this security dashboard. So another thing that Security Center allows for, which some of you might be interested in, is identifying security issues and threats against your environment using threat intelligence. So if we go over here, actually we go over here, we can see that there's like this list of notable issues. We can see computers missing security updates, members added to a security-enabled group, logons with a clear text password. So these are kind of like the recommendations you saw before, but these are more kind of, these are actual like security issues that might open you up for attacks or threats. And if we look at this map over here, we can see in this detected threat types above, we can see we've had 2 botnet attacks in the past 24 hours. And we can see where they've originated from. So let's actually click on Open Dashboard. And we can see, if we click on this, and I navigate here, we can see the IP address that this threat was originating from. We can see the threat type, which was a botnet. We can see the confidence that Microsoft's algorithms have that this is actually a threat is 75%. So these alerts are calculated based on activities and logs over network communications with like IP addresses that might be listed as like a malicious IP address, or such as like the botnet or a crypto miner. So that's kind of how they get this data. And you can see it's displayed according to geographical location, so you can see it's like a better visualization. And then I actually want to go over here. So this is the last feature I wanted to kind of show. It's called security alerts. So basically, all of the log data that Security Center is collecting, they can actually see, you know, when they see something that looks like suspicious activity. So we can see like a suspicious process was executed, potential attempt to bypass the app lock detection, suspicious PowerShell activity. So let's click on this suspicious process executed. We can see which resources it was actually attacking and the time. And we can see more details here. Machine logs indicate that the suspicious process, this executable, was running on the machine, often associated with attacker attempts to access credentials. So we can see right away, oh, this looks like someone's trying to hack into my VM and run this suspicious executable. So by alerting you with this, you can immediately go and delete your VM and prevent this threat. So it kind of allows users to immediately respond to such alerts or threats. So that was kind of all of the features that I wanted to go over. Yeah?
Can you talk about the intrusion detection algorithms and or signatures? Because I know Microsoft has a great intrusion detection signature database. Is it all coming out here? Do I get that entire database of signatures?
So I think that information, even within like the service teams, like they don't really tell us how much of that database and like what exact algorithms they're using. But from my knowledge and like having short conversations with the Security Center team, they do have like a huge database that they've collected over years and years of Microsoft being attacked. And have been running them through machine learning algorithms for years. So I'm assuming, yes, this data is coming from that database. I don't know how much of it is coming from the database, but it's enough for them to feel confident to release this as an Azure first-party service and have users use it as their only security solution. Yeah. Yeah.
I know you're using a public Wi-Fi right now, so
Yes.
you're accessing the dashboard like that. Certain organizations, and it sounds like a silly question, but certain organizations may not want their personnel using the public access to go to their dashboard.
Right.
Or is it already hardened from, in a public? Is the software itself hardened?
It's all hardback based. So when you go to the Azure portal, you can get it from the internet. But anyway, unless it's been, yes.
Unless you have a tip or something set up, I know the VA, they have tips or something where you can only access it through certain areas that they've set up. But other than that, what Steve is saying,
So in other words, any public Wi-Fi can access your dashboard without any kind of security breaches.
Right, unless,
I guess you can do things like a private peer, where the question is, the question is, maybe you can repeat the question.
the question was if we access this portal and the dashboard from a public Wi-Fi, and what if we don't want our users to just be able to do that? Right. Could there be an intrusion on the dashboard?
And there are ways that you can say that you want to set up a private peering channel where you can only access these services over let's say an MPLS circuit or an express route. So there are those options available.
Yeah, so there's like what you're saying with the express route, there's networking security rules and features that Azure provides that allows you to lock down private VNet endpoints, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just going back to the earlier question that you had about the updates, I think what you were saying makes sense as well. That I just looked it up while you were answering it. That you have these updates available as a recommendation, then you're applying security center policies, as you said.
Right.
So to decide what makes sense for you.
Right. Yeah. Just a second.
Thanks, Tina. So when you showed your dashboard a few minutes ago, and you showed a security prevention cycle that you could deploy a WAF, the Web Application Firewall. Can you hit that for me for a second? I want to see what your options show.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to see where that was. Was that in the first part of my demo? No, right?
The first screen that you brought up that shows
Where you were showing missing encryption.
That might just be in recommendations. Yeah. So let's click on that. So this is so I click on this resource, it's open. Okay, so I have to have a web application. Well, you can create web application firewalls in Azure, and then I guess you can select it here to apply it to that machine. But I don't have any.
So where does a user get the WAF from? Is this a third-party ISV or your own?
Well, here these are the
perfect. That's perfect. Thank you.
For the just-in-time access for the VM, can you share a couple of use cases of that feature?
Yeah. So I think I guess the point is sometimes you don't want any user to just have access to your VM. So you can configure the amount of time that you allow someone, their specific IP address or IP ranges, and then you can specify the port that you actually want to open. And that's kind of, I think, the level of granularity that most network security rules actually allow you to control. Yeah. through the Graph API? Like, are you talking about like the Azure Graph? Yeah.
Intelligent graph.
I don't think you can in government. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's available in Gov. Or is it available in commercial? That they're allowed to access this in Graph API.
There's a different API to access this data, but not the Graph API.
There's a Security Center API that works with Gov that I've tried, but like, yeah, I mean, you can automate it, and you can automate like calls to see like, hey, you make a REST API call and you like send the security state of all my resources, or you can specify like a resource that you want like information on. So you can definitely do that with, I don't know if that was your question, but you can use an API to get all this data, but not the Graph API. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Yujin, for an awesome demo. She's going to be around if you have any questions. I wanted to thank everybody for coming to our meetup. Again, the next one is on the 28th of November. Hopefully everyone can make it. And if you have any suggestions on content or format, or you want to see more demos, etc., just let us know. So thank you very much.